Pro Audio Secrets, a show that helps you to find your own voice in sound.
Is it okay if I swear?
I mean, if you ask me, better not do.
Cool. I have noticed that it's really important to have...
I couldn't be a Foley artist if...
A lot of the cool stuff we do at Airwiggles, like such as the...
How can you get those sponsors in and...
Yeah, definitely.
We can make this much money, imagine what we could do if we...
I got into audio because I loved making audio, first and foremost.
At the end of the day, the big reward is the...
Quick one. This conversation is so valuable to the whole community, and I want that to be accessible for more people. And if you also want that, I ask you just for one favor, please subscribe to the channel or follow along wherever you watch or listen to this. And with that, you can give a great contribution towards distributing this thing to more people. Thank you very much for doing so. Let's get back to the episode. My first question would be, what do you do and what is your mission in what you do?
Do you want to start?
I stress out a lot about lots of stuff. That's what I do currently. I am a sound designer, obviously, and with Airwiggles and the website we created, we kind of just constantly curate events or conferences or contests and moderate it and reach out to people and give people feedback and all this stuff. And it's just so busy, so hectic. We have so many things going on at once. But I love doing it, and our mission really is to just try and bring audio people together. I mean, they already are like kind of together, but they're all together on like all these other platforms in different places. So we're trying to bring everyone together into one place where it's very friendly, it's very inclusive, it's good at helping people get their foot in the door. It's good for hopefully our aim is to kind of improve diversity in the industry as well, just to give people the help and support and community that where is there, but just bringing it all in one place where it's easy to find.
Yeah, it's awesome. I went to the website Airwiggles and looked it all up, and it's so much help on there and so much community that is easily accessible. Also links to other platforms, so it's really a great starting point. But you not only have that, right? You also have game audio learning, and Greg just released a book. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Greg?
Yeah, so for me, I love that question, like what's your mission? And I've been thinking about that a lot, and it changes in some aspects, but the core is I want to make game audio specifically, but audio in general, accessible to everyone, because I feel that I come from a very privileged background. I've had, I was born with the right cards, but despite that, it was actually quite tricky getting into this industry. So, for people who weren't born with those right cards, it's even harder. And as a community, I think we're at the end of a huge, long, complicated game development chain, and all the crap that goes through the pipeline kind of like ends up with us. All the delays, everything. So I think I mentioned this when we spoke to Brian Schmidt, who is the founder of GameSongCon. There's a kind of shared trauma almost in this whole community, especially in games, and. Really, the mission is to bring people together and to be able to connect the entire world. So wherever you are in the world, we want to be able for you to plug into the online community, which is everywhere, but then also your local communities, to find people that are, within either foot reach or car reach or public transport reach, and to really bring that whole network together. And that is not a single or dual person mission. It's everyone coming together, and we are, or especially I speak for myself, of course, I feel like my mission is to enable that and to help make that happen and play a part of it. And I think Airwiggles the way we see it is also it's the home for audio people, as we like to call it. And the way I see it, it's like a space. It's like we have the house where the party's hosted, and everyone kind of used to meet in these different parks and places and all of that. But now it's like we have our own place. Look, everyone can come in and join. And we're trying to build these different rooms for different types of people and different interests through the spaces and everything. And just get all the useful things that there are. It's like, oh, what else would be useful? What else do we need? And I think the spirit of the internet is awesome in terms of how, you know, it's all just there for everyone to do whatever they want with it. And I feel that we live now in a culture of pretty kind of intense capitalism with subscriptions everywhere and all kinds of stuff. And it really sucks, and it again makes it really hard for the people that can afford it. And so with all the stuff we do, we just want to make it so that it's accessible. And of course, sometimes that cannot be totally for free. Like a book unfortunately costs money to make. However, like aircon and everything is totally for free. And so it's really that mission to bring it all together and enable it and make it happen. And yeah, it's just unbelievably cool to be able to play a small part in that, because we stand on the shoulder of giants. I think at Game SoundCon we were like a bit overwhelmed. It's like, holy crap, these people were like in the industry before I was born, making like computer audio chips and stuff. So yeah, it's crazy, and it's just cool to be part of all of this.
Of course, but those people, they don't do what you do, and so this is to me, it's really great. The service that you provide is like unbelievable. For example, I just browsed the website and then clicked on events, and then I was really like fascinated how the calendar is filled up with all kinds of events, and that you gather all this information there, like physical meetups all over the world, from the UK, US, you name it, or virtual events that you partly create yourself or others do. So this is such a great knowledge hub, and also the site feels a little bit like a Discord with all the different spaces, as you said. Despite there is actually an additional Discord, and when you look to all the different links that you can also access through the site or through your other website, Game Audio Learning, all the relevant channels are there. Like the field recording, sound, how is it called? Slack, and all the other platforms. So yeah, this is really amazing. You mentioned capitalism and subscription and money and so many things that you offer are for free. Of course, a book costs money. But you mentioned you managed to also bring in sponsors, you know. So how does that work? Can you a little bit explain about the process behind that? Because things cost money also for hosting the website, and your time also you need to live. So how can you get those sponsors in, and what is your process behind that?
Yeah, definitely. Just first up, before we go on to that, I wanted to shout out the events page, like you just said. It is probably the part of the website I'm most proud of, because I think it's the most like immediately useful to like basically everybody. And we started it like when we made the website like less than 2 years ago, if you can believe that. It's still not even 2 years old yet. But when we first made it, we realized we could do this feature. And so me and Greg and everybody who helped us kind of spent ages looking for every single meetup and event, etc., across the world to try and add it to this calendar. But it became such like a difficult job, kind of like having to constantly update it. And now we just outsource it all to a guy named Danny Runciman, who is an absolute champion and does like 99% of the events by himself. So I really couldn't. The events calendar right now would not exist without his help. You might know him as the guy that runs the sound effects swap now, who took over from Ben Gallagher. But he's an absolute legend. And like, yeah, as I said, like we have like a little group chat with a few of us that post events onto it when we see them pop up on our feeds, and then he'll just like go through and just like add them all to be an events calendar, and he'll format them correctly. He'll like set up like the RSVPs if they have to do all those, and then all the events from there get brought over to audioevents.org. So it's like this whole massive system, and it all runs on just Danny being free every
Amazing.
once in a while to make some events. Maybe you should look at automating that, but yeah, I cannot thank him enough.
So he's also organizing the physical events.
Well, he's
Oh.
not. He's not actually making his own events, but he's like the one who finds and gathers and actually adds every single event we ever find on the internet to our list. And so some of the
Okay.
events on the Airwiggles events calendar are events that we're running ourselves. Like I run the Guildford meetups. Sometimes together we run the London ones with help from the original London crew. I used to run the Bristol meetups as well, but now I've moved, so someone else has taken over that one. We do online events twice a month as well. And for Aircon, we did our own in-person event. And we do a bunch of live streams on our website too, which also get added to the same thing. So yes, we have a load of events ourselves, but also, you know, we don't live in America, but there's loads of American events like the Game Module LA meetup. For example, every time we see something like that posted, we'll kind of, me or Danny or Greg or someone will kind of add it to the events list, but it just kind of links to their event. So it's not like we're stealing their RSVPs or anything. We're just directing people to it. So it's say for someone in any one of these cities, they might not know where to look for these events or not know they exist. They can see this event pop up in chronological order, be like, oh, there's a meetup in my city tonight. And they can find it easily. And it's a lot of setting up. And I have to say, Danny is doing 99% of the work. So full credit to him for keeping that up.
Yeah,
one
shout outs,
day,
definitely.
one day, I imagine he's going to message me saying, well, I can't do it anymore, Lewis. I've got too much stuff on. And fair play to him, but I'm dreading that day.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be hard finding someone who can do such a good a job.
Yeah, you mentioned maybe automating it for the long term.
Yes,
That
we'll have
would be
to figure
also
something out like that.
We will. It's on the list of the many things. There's a couple of things that are tricky to make it happen, but it's one of those things where we'll get help from smarter people than us in the community, which is good.
Most people.
You did ask about sponsorships.
Yes, you can take that, Greg.
I'd love to take that question. So basically, up until Aircon this year, there was zero money essentially coming from outside. So Lewis and I have invested a lot of money into this whole project. We have been the sponsors up until then, and we have basically only taken prizes on for sponsorships with companies. However, that had to change with Aircon because the second time especially, it got really huge, and we have a bunch of costs every single year from platform, domain, like even things like business cards, you know, printing out posters and whatnot. There's just a ton of unsexy little costs that come up, software, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So
deposits for a bar, that was an expensive
oh
one.
god, yeah, true. Yeah, we had to, and yeah, paying off the venue as well.
Yeah.
And so we really needed some money. We've never done this before, right? We are full-time sound designers. We're not business people. We didn't study business or anything, so we just copy others in what they have done, ask for lots of advice from people who are more experienced and smarter, and kind of just figure it out while we're going. So I had some pitching experience from my first job to games company, so I knew how to create a pitch deck and stuff. So myself and Johnny and Lewis put together a pitch deck, and I spent way too much time on this thing. It was pretty stressful, but then it was really cool. We got great feedback from especially Aspirations, and again, shout out to his sound effects as well. We're partnered with them. I'll get to that as well. But got loads of feedback, and then we simply started to chat to different companies and reach out and say, hey, we've got these tiers, and we need to cover these costs. This is where the money's going. This is what we have planned. This is like your exposure. It's like essentially a marketing pitch, a very generic marketing pitch that is Airwiggles branded. And it was really tricky. Like, it was interesting because we had to take the analytics, bring out the important information, look at like last year, make projections, all kinds of stuff, figure out what are the deliverables that we can pull off in terms of tiers for giving these companies value. There's a lot, of course, of value out, but we have to package that and deliver as well. Like every written post, that's a lot of time on our hands, videos, etc., all that stuff.
The worst one was including graphics, logos and all the graphics we made. So I do all the graphic design for Airwiggles.
Yeah.
Like I just do it myself. I'm not a graphic designer. I do it in Keynote, which is like the Mac OS version of PowerPoint. But for some of these, like for aircon and stuff, we're probably talking about 500, 600 graphics in total, because I make bespoke ones at every talk, every panel, every bit of marketing, every video. And like when we have like a sponsor like, oh yeah, we'll give you some money, but we want a logo and a graphic. I'm like, oh, I've got to go through my Keynote slides and add a logo to 600 slides. It's so much work.
So I
can imagine.
I had a fire under my butt from Lewis to get all the sponsors locked off ASAP. So we were like chasing people up and saying, we're so sorry, but we have like a really short deadline because we didn't anticipate the process, blah, 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 we're learning. But it was so cool. The support from these different companies was absolutely resounding, and it was just really awesome to get that positive feedback from everyone. We had a bunch of calls with people, great email conversations, and everyone was like, yes, we love what you're doing. Take our money and like make this thing happen because we believe in it. And that was like the second time we did it. And we were stressed, like, we wanted to make it a lot better. So this was the first time that we actually have money behind the whole operation from other people, which of course creates a lot of pressure. So on top of just because, if we, is it okay if I swear?
I mean, if you ask me, better not do.
Cool. If we mess up, that means the entire operation, or responsibilities, on us. We have wasted their money, essentially. So it was like a lot of pressure versus the year before. It was just our reputations at stake, so to speak. So that was interesting. But we learned loads from that whole thing. And we had... So that's a sponsor thing. I'll come to that briefly. But we also partnered up with a sound effect, Asbjørn Andersen, and some of the people essentially as well, who are behind that, have an incredible amount of business experience as well. And so we got really great information and feedback from them as well. And yeah, Asbjørn has just been really helpful in being able to push it out, especially at the start of the whole operation. Like, he from the start really believed in us and this whole thing, and kind of was like, yeah, this is cool, like this has potential. When we were kind of like, will this go anywhere? and yeah, so he's been a crucial part, and I really want to mention him. And yeah, so basically with the general sponsorship idea is that we get prizes for like smaller events and stuff, and then for bigger events that we do, especially from next year, we are basically getting money from sponsors. And I don't want to reveal too much in terms of what events we'll be doing next year, because that's still secret.
Okay.
But Aircon is of course coming back. And so we're trying to kind of balance it where we say, because we do want to just do some small stuff as well, where it's just prizes. And Noisevember is a great example of that, where we just kind of like put out a call and everyone responded and was like, here's all of our stuff. And it's like, holy shit. Oh, sorry. Holy crap. We have like $13,000 in prize money. So that was like prize pool. So that was really awesome. But yeah, I mean, we get some libraries and some really cool products out of it, but eventually the goal is to be able to compensate a little bit of our time, because we work full-time jobs, and it's pretty tricky balancing it, especially like there's no incentive of money that has ever driven us, but it's definitely helpful when you're investing a ton of time. and especially being able to eventually have like some things outsourced that we can pay people as well. So it's important to bring money into this, but the way we want to do it is really to not burden the community, but rather just work with cool companies who earn the money anyway, and then they can push good stuff in the community, making it more accessible for everyone, and it's a positive cycle and a feedback loop. So yeah, that's...
I really love that. I mean, this is basically from the playbook, I guess. And my prediction is, long term, you're maybe the best set up people in the industry to actually make a proper income from your passion. And all the things you do for the community will get back to you and come back to you also financially. Because you're the most well-known people in the sound community.
I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, in a certain way you are. You know, maybe not in terms of credits or in terms of the veteran status, but in terms of what you do for the community. For me, you're top tier. You're like the number one.
Wait, which one of us is number one?
Both of you on the same. I
need to do
I cannot give you that. Sorry.
Well, I really appreciate that, but I don't necessarily. I don't think I agree, but I do appreciate you saying that.
It's my worldview. Maybe that's also the same thing that I wish for myself, and I see it. I see that you do it much better than I do it, so that's why I appreciate it so much. You know, and I think that's really the future of where everyone should basically look at if they want to make a career in audio. I mean, I read the book from Greg partially, and there are so many great advices how to get started into the industry and what habits to grow and all these things. But apart from that, being visible is so valuable these days, and attention is the highest valued currency these days. And you're grabbing all the attention, and but you do it with value, and that's also the only way how you can get attention these days, if you add a value to your content. But I think your content is so non-self-focused. You know, if I don't interview you now, you're not very much displayed in a way than the way that your communities are displayed, and so. Yeah, I think this is really like, I really appreciate it and love it. And yeah, I'm maybe not part of it myself in a way that I should be. But maybe that's also why the reason for that is because I'm already kind of established and have my own thing and don't have time for those game jams now. But people who want to get there, they should definitely do all the things that you offer. And that's the best way to grow, I think, these days. Which brings me back to a thing that Greg said before, that he was kind of privileged in a way to get started on the path. So could you maybe both elaborate a little bit about your upbringing and what were your first encounters with sound or music, and what actually made you become audio people in the end?
Yeah, do you want me to go first, Greg?
Go for it.
I'm also very, very, very privileged, and similar to Greg, like I was born with the right cards. I was actually born in Guildford, which is where I currently am still. It's where my university was. It's where, like, basically, I don't know, probably half the games companies in England are for some reason. Like, I was born there. I've lived there basically my whole life, pretty much. When I was extremely fortunate that when I came out of uni, or when I was when I was in uni, I was doing a little bit of retail on the side, but like I was living with my parents, doing maybe, I don't know, 2 days work in a shop, and then I would have 3-4 days by myself where I could just churn out show reels and stuff. So like if I was in a situation where I had to work full time to support myself while trying to break into the industry, I don't think I could have done it. So I'm very, very, very privileged in that respect. And that's something that, I can recognize, and something that hopefully stuff we're doing, especially stuff you're doing, Greg, with game audio learning, is hopefully can make it easy for others in the future. But going before that, I was always kind of interested in curating things. I always liked making making art and making games. Like when I was like a kid, you know, I always liked building with Lego as opposed to playing with soldiers, that kind of thing. I was always about creating stuff.
Mm.
There's a car alarm going off outside, so sorry if you can hear that.
No.
That's good. When I was probably around 12, 13, I started getting into like actually making music using, and first it was Magic's Music Maker, which was the old software. Then it kind of developed into FL Studio. And then I kind of just made a bunch of really terrible, terrible songs in FL Studio in my bedroom. I won't lie, I created and released an entire album of 12 tracks before I even learned how to bring up the mixing window. It's
That's great.
I really
most
shouldn't
people are
say
the
this.
exact opposite.
I was gonna
They
say,
never
I
released
think
anything.
this is a key part of the whole thing. Ship
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really shouldn't say this out loud, but like they're still on Spotify. Like you can find my old tracks, album released in, I don't know, 2014 or whatever it was. And it's an entire track where the entire album uses the 4 default drums you get in FL Studio, and doesn't have, everything is just mixed max level. I didn't know what effects were. It's all just like random presets. It's terrible. I keep thinking I should take them down, but again, I guess my first kind of experience in kind of any audio for media. It's just so bizarre. It's been ages since I've even thought about this. So at some point when I was when I was younger, making kind of music in my bedroom, I uploaded it to Newgrounds and YouTube and stuff like that. And some guy found it and was like, "Hey, I quite like this music you've done. I create Minecraft intro videos with different YouTubers. Is it okay if I use it on a couple of introductions?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And this guy was a YouTuber called Terrace HD, and he made a Minecraft intro for a guy named Corrales, who currently is like very popular as like a Minecraft YouTuber. And then he made a video which was how to build a lawnmower in Minecraft. And he had like a 10-second clip of a song of mine at the start of it, but the video got like 500,000 views. And since then, that was like the first kind of, I guess, audio to picture, I suppose, even though it was very much like the other way around. But ever since then, that was probably maybe, I don't know, 14 years old when this happened. And I started getting, you know, like a few like, you know, fans online, if you could call them that. And people started checking out the stuff I was doing. And I just really enjoyed, even though I was at such a minuscule audience, I enjoyed making audio that people liked to listen to, even though it was objectively terrible. And I wish I knew what I was doing at the time, so it would be better. And because of that, I haven't taken them down from Spotify yet, because I still make the occasional Spotify royalty. Anyway, fast forward, because I liked doing it, I was always going to do interior design as a career. Mm-hmm. And so when I did my college choices, I did art, I did computing, I did maths, because it was stuff I wanted to do for interior design. But I had a subject left and I didn't know what to do with it. And I was like, well, I guess I've got nothing else to do. Why not take music tech? And then basically immediately after doing that, I kind of realized, and actually my dad, who is an interior designer, told me, like, Lewis, don't stop dicking around with interior design. Just go into music and sound and that stuff, because you enjoy it way more. And so I was like, okay, let's try and pivot. And so I started looking into it. I found ACM in Guildford, which is my university I went to. Mm-hmm. I did more kind of creative sound design, which was a kind of mix of sound design and music for media and all that stuff. I was initially wanted to be a film composer or a games composer, as most people do. And I was very, very lucky about doing all the kind of game jams and I was doing a bit of quality assurance as well to try and pivot into the industry sideways. I managed to become an assistant composer at Soundcuts for a contract for a cartoon. And then when I was only 3 of us there at the time, I just kind of kept staying around, doing a bit of other things. And now I've kind of developed into just a kind of all-round audio person. My technical title is an audio lead, but it's mainly sound design I do. I do a bit of music composition as well, though, which is always fun, probably what I'm most used to. And then just bits like dialogue editing and sometimes voiceover, like direction and implementation and all this stuff. I've ended up just kind of falling into all of it. And now on the side, I'm doing all this social media stuff and event planning and live streams and graphic design. And I feel like I'm just doing everything at once, and it's very overwhelming. But that's how I ended up doing it all. And I really enjoy it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I would not be able to do it if I couldn't live at home with my parents not paying rent for about 2-3 years during university and the year afterwards, where I was doing showreels and practicing and doing free projects and work for free and boom operating and all that stuff. So yes, it was a lot of work, but it was also work from a very privileged position, which I am very grateful for.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. I'm going to go look up the how to build a lawnmower in Minecraft after this and see just how bad it was. How many people have I told to check out the worst thing I've ever
We
made?
can link it in the description of the video.
I really hope that guy took it down, but I don't think he did.
So yeah, I mean, what sticks through for me is that you always kept doing the thing. Yeah, you never held back with either releasing stuff or reaching out to people or like listening to advice. I think it's also extraordinary that your dad actually looked at what you were really passionate about and encouraged you in this. Maybe, the path with interior design was already kind of paved, with
Absolutely.
his,
And it's
yeah.
like I mean, I don't know for sure, but I feel like I could have done it as well. Not too easily, but my dad's been in and my mum have been interior designers for several years. My dad's been interior designer for like, I don't know, since he's started work basically. He's got his own company now doing interior design. So like I like to think that a bit of nepotism could have got me in a door at least so I could do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like it was an option, but it would have been 7 years at university. So I'd be just about finishing up now, I suppose. But yeah, admittedly, I always thought that a career in audio and music would be just way too risky. And I didn't really believe in myself to be able to do it until my dad was like, no, give it a go. You give it a whirl because you really like it. And I was like, yeah, all right, I will.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Greg,
I
how
was
about you?
also astonished when my dad, because I dropped out of school at age 18 because I wanted to be a full-time rapper. And then
Wow.
he gave me also a little bit of starting money to do something with it. And I never thought that he would ever do this. Yeah. And with that 5,000 euros, it was then back then in 2002 maybe. I built my first own recording studio. Bought some equipment, whatnot, and then I started doing the thing. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah,
I had no idea about that.
That's
really
awesome.
cool. Yeah. I'm really
And then
intrigued.
5 years later, I repeated the school. I did my A levels then in Berlin on the evening school. Besides working as a stagehand for event productions and stuff like that. Yeah, and only after that I became then a sound effects editor. But it's not about me; it's about you.
What was your
about you?
hang on, wait, before you go, keep going. What was your rapper name?
It still is Musa Gerner. So not Bastian, but Musa,
I like
Musa.
it.
Also a long story how I got to that name. Yeah, but I'm still doing it. I don't have the focus for it right now to really make it something public. Yeah, because I know with the Foley teacher how much it takes to be out there and to do something
Absolutely.
sustainable. So yeah, but I'm positive that this also will be a bigger part in my life later on. Still.
Oh, amazing. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have to look
If
it
I-
up later.
If I share you my terrible old music, can you please share me your current rap? I would love
All
to
right,
hear it.
we'll do. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Okay, sorry, Greg.
no worries.
Well, interestingly, it's a surprisingly similar journey to Lewis. Except for my second option was like psychology because my mom is or used to be a psychotherapist, and my dad a dance teacher, and then went into Tai Chi, Qigong, and like Eastern medicine due to multiple knee operations. So I grew up around music. My dad, with his profession, had always music playing. I was dancing and singing and doing all of that stuff. But yeah, so from an early age exposed to everything, and I had a very specific taste as well. I had a little music corner and everything with like different instruments and stuff, and listening to music on a little bouncy ball. And yeah, that kind of just developed into taking piano or keyboard lessons at some point, but I really didn't enjoy it, and I kind of stuck with it just because I really enjoyed making my own stuff. And so on the keyboard, you could like record your own melodies, and then I played like some live drums to it. And eventually, same path as Lewis, Magix, followed by then FL Studio. And the first, I kind of I gave a talk, my first Aircon talk about this, so there's like more detailed info if anyone is interested. But the long story short is like there were a couple of big turning points. One of them was joining a Skype group for producers, and there were loads of people based in the Netherlands there, a couple in Belgium and one in the UK and stuff. And so we just formed this little community of like, I think 12 people or something, and sent each other tracks, gave each other feedback, reposted each other on SoundCloud, and it was like this producer network. And that was the first time where I really felt like, wow, I'm part of something that's bigger, and I'm part of this group where we're doing these cool things. And we did like some DJ live streams and stuff, and made our own little events. I then wanted to kind of do my own little YouTube network recording thing. Got like messaged loads of people, got their song permission to upload their songs on, what was it called, I think Mind Games Music or something. I got my cousin who did like graphic design to do logos and an intro, and all kinds of stuff, and then tried to like get views and stuff, and again build a community around it. So I've always been interested to a certain extent in like building things that are bigger than myself with like community, because you can only do so much yourself, but when you bring other people in, it's like you realize, you have like little tip of knowledge, and then you can like fill that out with everyone else, and if everyone contributes, you can, we build cathedrals and all kinds of crazy stuff together. You can't do that alone. So that was like a big revelation for me, I think. And then the second one was when I got asked to, not asked, I saw this opportunity where they were looking for electronic music producers to produce a pop album. And I applied, did the interviews, got the job along with two other producers. Both of them were at ACM, the university that Lewis went to.
Right.
And which I then followed myself later on. So I produced a couple of tracks, and that was my first like professional income from music. And that's when my parents were like, okay, this kid is, walking the walk. I think it was like 16 or something, or 15 maybe, probably 15. Yeah, 15.
Very impressive.
Then I did, I had like changed my artist name, made new music. It's like Kitten on SoundCloud, Kittn. It's like some EDM trap stuff, which is not very good. But I had like another track with this American rapper that I again reached out to, and it got uploaded to this big network, and that was when I was like, okay, I think I can do this like long term and as a career. Didn't like school at that point. I've always been a pretty good student, but it was just like, oh, I'm wasting my time. I know what I want to do, and I can't do it here. So my parents were super awesome and let me go to the UK, where I joined ACM at the diploma level. So I basically quit school at 17, 1 year before the A-level equivalent thing, and went to do a 2-year music diploma. But I was 1 year older, did my things good, and the teacher was just like, you can skip this next year, go straight to uni. So I did that, and then I kind of like did the 2 years of university. They didn't have a course for for sound design. The one that Lewis did was killed off by the time that I came in, so I had to do I had to do like a general music production thing, and I just asked if I can change all my assignments to be game audio focused, and they were cool with it, and that was awesome. So I was just like, I'm not going to go this career. I need to go here, and I need to do this stuff in order to get there. And that's again when like all these things, these realizations of like, oh, you can learn this stuff, you can learn it yourself, but it's like all the information is everywhere. And back then when you did the YouTube search, there was like Marshall McGee, and I think that's about it. Like maybe some other couple, Akash Takar and Marshall McGee, and those were pretty much the only people that were really big on the internet back then, in terms of YouTube at least, which is where I lived. There was, of course, lots of different things and everything, but yeah, it was not as easily accessible. So that was then one of the things that sparked game audio learning later on, was like, if we can just bring this all together, like, don't need to create all these courses, just bring it all together, carve a path for it, voila. But yeah, that was my uni. And then after uni, actually, so during uni, I found a event on a sound effect, the calendar that they had at the time, which had a couple of events, and we kind of like, again, collaborated with Aspirations and took that over to expand it. But one of them was Lewis's Guildford Game Audio meetup that he hosted with Alex Jones. And so I went there, knew no one, was in the wrong room at first, finally found everyone, and then instantly like got embraced by all the awesome people. And that's when I also realized, like, wow, this is my crowd. People are so cool. Lewis was there. We immediately like hit it off, and he kind of, you know, took me under his wing a bit there, and was like, more events like next week and the week after, come over, I'll be there, I can introduce you to people. And then I went to my second audio event, met more people, and that then snowballed into like being invited to a board game night with game devs, and that was really cool. And then that's when slowly opportunities happened, and my first paid job was from Lewis, who didn't have time because he was just got the contract at Soundcuts, and so I took that over from him. And yeah, didn't do a great job. I think it was a really tricky game. It's so weird. It's like a VR thing. Like 4 of 3 other people worked on this before me, and I think each person like redid everyone else's work. Yeah, anyways, side tangent. So did that, and then eventually from there, like, went to meetups, met one of the a developer who was looking for an audio person, but not really, but had some ideas. We hit it off, and I just followed up with him, and then eventually got an interview when he needed to kind of get someone on board, and I got the job, did a 2-week contract, and he was happy, and then went on to do a full year building this demo, which never saw the light of day, unfortunately, due to funding and COVID. But yeah, then while that happened, and then once money ran out and COVID happened, Lewis was like, we were already really good friends by that point. He was like, there's an opening at Soundcuts, apply. And I did, and I got the job. And then and then that's pretty much it. I've been with Soundcuts ever since. It's now like over 4 years, which is crazy. Time flies. And
so you both work at the same company?
Yeah,
that's right.
And you're running Airwiggles together?
Yeah.
I'm so sick of this guy.
We live 8 minutes from each other. It's terrible. We see way too much. It's funny as well. We have all kinds of different dynamics. Like when we're on the job, Lewis a lot of the time is my lead on projects. And then when we're in this, like, we take different roles again. And then when we're outside, we're just obviously friends and stuff. But it's cool. Like, I think, I mean, I've learned insane amounts from Lewis, and I mean, I put it in the book, like, I owe this guy my career essentially, right? So I think it's cool that we somehow found each other, and it's a good match. And it's funny because I think people who don't know us would think like, oh, they agree on everything. I think we disagree on most things.
Yeah, we do argue a lot, and I have to say again, same for me. Like, I've learned so much from myself as well, because I'm that
Humble Lewis, humble Thompson.
I've obviously learned a lot from Greg as well. Greg has the most insane work ethic ever. I think that's my main thing, which I'm just very envious of. Like, I don't know how you manage to keep up so many projects at once. Like, I'm struggling with just Airwiggles, but you're doing that and Game Boy Learning and writing a book at the same time. I don't know how you're doing it, Greg, to be honest. Apart from just weed.
Yeah, I mean, that helps.
So for me, it's really this for me is really outstanding what I just listened that your pathways and what you already achieved. I mean, how old are you?
25.
Greg's so young, it's annoying. I mean, I'm 27, so I know I'm not much better, but Greg being 25 still pisses me off every time I hear about it. Sorry, I know we're not supposed to swear. When I met him, he was like,
So
what,
yeah,
19
knowing
when I
that
met you,
were
Greg?
both.
Oh,
No, earlier. 19
it's-
when I got the. No, sorry,
That's-
20. So yeah, you would have met me when I was 18, because I was working at McDonald's and at the student union at the same time during that time. That was shit.
Terrible.
Sorry, that was terrible, terrible time.
we're so bad at not swearing. Oh my
That
God.
was tough. Yeah, apologies. We are
Yeah. Bleep
we
it
are
out.
our age, not very mature.
Yeet.
So yeah, this is already so much achieved. I'm really really impressed. And for what you mentioned, for example, with the roles that you take on, different roles. Sometimes Lewis is Greg's lead, then you are partners in the project, and outside of all that, you are friends. I mean, to manage and to master that, this is stuff that most people never manage in their whole life. I mean, honestly, I personally messed up 2 friendships at least because I couldn't manage it. And those were my biggest learnings in terms of corporate work and this kind of, work and friendship kind of thing. Yeah, it took me really 2 friendships to mess up until I really started to reflect and get counseled on that, and I really searched for advice and these things, and then I eventually figured it out. That doesn't mean that I have put it in practice ever since, because there was no such thing anymore since then. But now I'm better prepped. But you live the thing already, and you're not even 30. So kudos to you. This is really another thing that is really impressive. And can you maybe explain a little bit why you are working full time at the same company, and not make it a full time kind of social media content creation, freelance network kind of thing?
So for me, I honestly just I don't want to. And to be honest, I never had any desire to start a company or own a business or any of that kind of stuff. We have to do this for Airwiggles now for various reasons, especially now as sponsorship money is getting involved. So we have to set up a company, and we have to be, CEOs and CFOs and all that stuff. But I never wanted to do that. I got into audio because I loved making audio first and foremost, and that's what I do at Soundcuts. I freaking love Soundcuts and Adele Cutting and everybody there, including you, Greg. It's such a lovely company. I think I really lucked out finding it. Again, I joined maybe 7-8 years ago. I've been there ever since. I've gone from an assistant composer to an audio lead. I freaking love it, and I love the team. We're a fairly small team. There's only maybe 10 of us right now. We've kind of been up and down throughout the years in terms of how the team size, but we work on all kinds of projects. I think at Soundcuts, I think I added it up the other day for a talk I did. I think I've worked on 70 different projects just at Soundcuts. That's not including all the freelance stuff I did beforehand. So it's so much fun to work on so many amazing projects with amazing clients, with amazing people, different size projects as well. That's some things like AAA games like The Quarry, or mobile games like Crane Valley Customs, and TV shows like Shaun the Sheep, and all this stuff that I really enjoy doing. And that just suits me down to the core, because I love being a bit of a jack of all trades. I love all the different stuff we do, and it's just such an awesome company. I'm so happy there. And so I actively do not want to quit and do Airwiggles full time. And also I feel like it would make it less good if we did do that. Admittedly, we have to grow the team and dedicate more time to Airwiggles as time progresses. And so at the moment we have some other helpers. Johnny Sounds is one of them, who does a lot of work. Lewis Ball helps us a lot as well as Sergio Ranchetti. I've got to name them all because I can't only name a few of them. So we have a lot of people that help us varying amounts to help us kind of scale up the work we need to do. But if a lot of the cool stuff we do at Airwiggles, such as the conference and planning all the events and reaching out to all the speakers, I don't think I'd be any good at if I didn't work in the industry actively. And I don't think I'd recognize, what the industry trends are, who the people to speak to are, etc., if I wasn't working in it. And so for me personally, I love the sound stuff. I love making sound, making music, doing it for games, working with my team, working with our clients. And with the Airwiggle stuff, I also love that, but I don't love it as much, to be honest. And I think it just wouldn't be as fun for me if I did that full time. And it would be way more stressful financially. And as Greg said at the start of this thing, like we're not really wanting to turn Airwiggles into this massive money making machine. We want it to be self funding. If it can pay for itself, that would be amazing.
Sustainable.
That's the one. Yeah, sustainable. If it can pay for itself, that would be amazing, because currently it hasn't been, and we've been losing money on it. So it'd be nice to get it to that level. But I'm not really personally wanting for it to be this, start charging subscription fees or charging for blue ticks like they do on Twitter and all this stuff. I don't want to do any of that, because I think it just makes it worse for the people that use it, and it makes it less fun for me. So there's no desire to do that from me. Greg, why don't you go?
Yeah. For me, I wrote down a bunch of different notes, but one of the big things that Lewis mentioned, which is a core of it, is that like I came into this industry to be a sound designer, and that is my passion. And I love teaching. I love this community building stuff. I enjoy all these things, and Soundcuts is really the dream job, because I am a huge fan of variety. I get bored very easily. I need to do many things. And with Soundcuts, we get the security, because Lewis and I are both full-time employed, so we get our monthly paycheck, and we don't have to look for clients. We don't have to worry. We just show up to the job, and we get new projects handed, big, small, anything. Part of that is so cool is the variety. So you learn all kinds of different sound design stuff, how to do mobile development, how to do AAA, working in Unity, working in Unreal, working in Wise, working in Metasounds. There's so much active learning all the time. You just develop like a mindset for just being like, oh yeah, I'll pick this up, no problem. So that's a huge thing. The other thing is, in my opinion, also because I see myself as, but yeah, I enjoy teaching, and I recently did the course, and I realized as well, it's like teaching is awesome, but I wouldn't want to do this full time. I also, during that month, I took it off and did focused on getting rid of all the Airwiggles backlog, all the game audio learning backlog. I had an absolutely terrible work-life balance during that month. I am really bad at setting boundaries for myself and knowing when is enough. Having a job which fences that in, and then if I do extra in the evening or in the morning, that's still more manageable for me than to just be left to my own devices at this point in my current developmental stage. I do not have the discipline, funnily enough, to set those boundaries and know when it's enough. And I just realized, like, at the end of the day, like, without getting too philosophical, it's like you have 24 hours in every day. It just depends on what you do. And there's this whole dream of like, oh, I get to be my own boss, but then that comes with so much stress. And I realized that in this month, and I don't want to think about where does my next paycheck come from. I love to have that, like, just turn up for work and do my job and be in a team. And I enjoy being another thing that just came into my head as well is decision fatigue. Like doing Airwiggles and all these things, there's so many decisions all the time. Small ones, big ones, huge ones. Things that have a real impact on people. And after the month, going back to my job, it was blissful because it was just like I was working with Lewis on a project and I was just like, Lewis, what am I doing today? And I just, turn my brain off, make the sounds, get involved in that for my 8 hours from whatever 9 till 6, and then like that's awesome. And so
what was the course? What was the course you mentioned?
Into
1
games.
month?
I did a Into Games sprint course.
That is another company you joined.
Yeah, so they're awesome. They do loads in the UK, headed up by Declan Cassidy. They help folks get into the industry. They really support people from diverse and working class backgrounds especially. They recently made like a social mobility study on the whole topic. They're really engaged in that. And so I was basically, they do these different spring courses, which are 3-week live courses. And so they asked me if I wanted to be part of it. And of course I was like, yeah, this is a cool opportunity. And so, yeah, I took that month then unpaid. And again, Adele, in most amazing boss, really just fully supportive. Like, yeah, you go for it, do this. She's also a big supporter of like Airwiggles and game audio learning and all of these things. And is like a sponsor of game audio learning as well.
Sponsor of Aircon too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like she's incredibly supportive. It's a really good environment. It's like it's the best place I can imagine to work, where it's like it fits around the life rather than the opposite. And of course, games projects get hectic and then they can take up your life a little bit. But 90% of the time, like, it's awesome. So we've covered all of that. The other thing is
let me recoup for a second, because to me, I have to let that sink that in. I mean,
yeah, I've got more to say as well.
all the things that you mentioned again really resonate with me, because I know from my personal experience that working at a company like you described right now, it gives you the hard skills that you need as a sound designer, and you have all the experience then at hand and all the projects and the credits also in your list. So this is a great starting point for you. And I mean, I started in the sound effects world basically from zero when I was your age. So you have 4 years in advance, and Lewis has already 7 years prior experience in the field. So this is like insane. I mean, you are like, to me, you are like the superstars of tomorrow. I mean, I know that, you know, sugar, like giving people such a how do you say that? To give that kind of feedback is maybe sometimes counterproductive, but in that case, I just feel it and I want to express it. You know, that to me, it's mind blowing what you already achieved, not only with your careers and the credits that you gained, but especially with the whole thing you built around that. I mean, this is for me like the prototype of what everyone should look up to right now if they want to get into any industry. Yeah. So yeah, really kudos to you. And I'm really happy that we can have this conversation. And I'm also learning loads from you. And it's really inspiring as well. Should I give a prediction to what I think could happen with you in the future?
Sure.
Yeah.
From what I
Then
just
in 3 years.
My ego is feeling awesome.
I mean, with my experience and maybe my mindset, because I like the entrepreneurial kind of thing, I think that you in the future, you can build your own company and you can do whatever you want. You can maybe include your current company and partnering up with that, and then maybe Greg is the CEO, and Lewis is the operational, like still the audio lead. So you can do all the operational work and do all the good things that you want to do. And I think the world is yours, because everyone will know you, and if you deliver the quality and you have definitely the passion, so I think every door will be open for you, whatever you want to do with the setup you have created right now.
Well, I really appreciate what you're saying. Again,
Yeah.
I do disagree a lot of the things you're saying, but I do appreciate the kind words. I feel like if you saw, I don't know, just some of the conversations we have, some of the problems we try to fix, it was behind the scenes, you realize we are not very inspirational. Some of the crazy situations.
Okay, you disagree because of some imposter, but you don't have a logical disagreement that I could follow.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go back and forth on that.
Don't argue. Just take it.
I'll take it. I'll take the compliment despite my.
Thank you, Bastian. I mean, that really means the world, and it's incredible to hear that. Obviously, like, you know, not gonna lie, that does fill me up. I think, I mean, one of the big other things that I want to mention is money. Money is a really interesting thing. It can enable us to do incredibly awesome things, but at the same time, like, it creates pressure. It can lead us down the wrong paths. And I have noticed that even with this, where when there's a temptation of money, it's like, it's really important to have a really strong why and a core ethos. And like our ethos is, does this benefit the community? And if not, okay, how can we make it benefit? And if it still doesn't, then it's like, goodbye, next. And that has been the foundation of everything, because it's tough when you especially when you've invested a lot of your own money and then you see like, oh wow, we can make this much money, you know, imagine what we could do if we ticketed this whole thing. But that's not the purpose. And I would be lying if I said, you know, the temptation of money sometimes isn't there. But at the end of the day, like, it's the pressure as well that is terrible. And I noticed for myself a lot of the time, as soon as money's involved, like my motivation goes down huge amounts a lot of the time. So that's why I did a paid video where I got paid up front, and it was terrible. I didn't want to do the video at all anymore. So it's a weird psychological thing, but it's like I prefer doing stuff that's cool, and then it's like, right, we're doing this anyway, and then that getting paid is a bonus, and it allows us to do more cool stuff. And I think with the money now that we're now able to get from sponsors and everything, it just feels so cool, because we can throw that at ideas that we have and make them possible, versus before it was impossible to do all of that, because we don't have a lot of savings, and we've invested most of that stuff into all of this so far, and only just breaking even now. So it's just really cool to be able to do like, oh my god, you know, we can, next time we go to an event, we can buy a pop-up booth, and we can have like cool graphics, and we can do this, and we can travel to here. And so it's really just about, I think the big reward is the experiences, the community, the impact, having people that we respect and admire, like yourself, say really kind things. That's the payoff. That's a big payday. And I think, yeah, I'm a delusional idealist, you know. I'm like, how hard can it be type person, as Lewis will tell you. He's got to, you know, push the brakes a lot, especially Johnny as well. And it's good. I think like we've put together a really awesome group of people that no one is a yes man. Everyone is a critical observer and truthful and honest, and we really help each other make this whole thing better. And yeah, it's like at the end of the day, it's all about really the community and everything. And now we've just reached a stage where we have to incorporate, because it's grown to an extent where it's now not feasible anymore to do it. Finances are running through me, which is terrible. Like my tax returns are horror. So I'm excited to have like company bank accounts, all of it, and it's just separate from my personal life, because it's just kind of like, you know, grown all over my life in that case, and it's going to be nice. I think the other thing is that, sorry, I keep going on. Once the gates are open, it's hard to stop. But the other thing is, like, I don't really want to make it about me or Lewis or anyone else, Johnny, whoever is in the team. This thing, if I die tomorrow, I hope that it continues to grow and to help and to thrive in this way that we've set it up. I don't want to be the figurehead that is then bound to it forever. I eventually probably will, maybe, you know, when I'm 60 or 70, who knows, maybe not, but maybe I'll go and do other things at some point in my life, and I don't want it to all collapse. So we're really trying to build solid foundations and processes and structures that we can essentially, if it needs to be, if something happens, whatever, that it's okay and it will survive, and it's not that everything will collapse without us, because we want this to be there for the audio community in the long term, and really that's the goal.
Yeah, I wanted to say as well, sorry to just jump in with more stuff. This has been one hell of an answer from both of us, but I mentioned before, and we were kind of talking about, and you were suggesting that obviously, us and I'll talk from me personally, but I'm sure what I'm saying is going to apply to Greg as well. But like, for me, like obviously the stuff I do at Soundcuts and the stuff I do as an actual sound designer, as a composer, really helps with running out, because I know what's going on. Like I know who's good at speaking at conferences. I know about the craft, and I'm really into it, and it makes total sense. And Airwiggles would not be anywhere near as good as it was if I wasn't working in audio full time. However, I'd say it also goes the other way really well. Like, because of Airwiggles and the stuff I've done in that stuff, I've become a much better sound designer at work. And in loads of ways, and in ways I wouldn't even have expected. I mean, yes, it does help kind of like, I guess, being a tiny bit recognizable, I suppose, just because my face is always appearing on the feed, etc. I think because of that, I've managed to, I mean, we got invited to Game SoundCon this year, as Greg mentioned earlier, and like I got to speak at Game SoundCon, and I got to see a bunch of talks at Game SoundCon. Obviously, it's in another continent to us. I never could have been able to afford to go by myself without that kind of like connection. And so even that is, I've learned so much from that trip about sound and music, which has made me a much better sound designer. Not just that though, like, I mean, some of the companies that have sponsored us in the past, like Boom and Kilohertz, they've gifted us, like me and Greg personally, like a few free versions of their sound libraries, of their plugins, etc. I use the Boom library stuff and the Kilohertz plugins all the time, but I couldn't have afforded them at the time, and I use them for work all the time. They're amazing. Honestly, like I work so much quicker now. I've kind of got these tools that I wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise. Not even so, like when we started doing Airwiggles and we started mocking up the demos ages ago, I was like, we need a logo. Let me see if I can make some graphics quickly. I figured out I could make some decent PNGs in Keynote. I made a couple. Next contest comes around, I thought, I'll just do it again because I can't afford to pay for a graphic designer. And we just kept doing it. Now I've probably made thousands of graphics like individually for Airwiggles over the years. And now, like last year, Soundcuts needed to update their website because it was a bit outdated, and we thought it didn't look that good. I was like, you know what, I said to Adele, I can probably make some demos and drafts and stuff. And suddenly I was doing the graphic design for the Soundcuts website and the Soundcuts like pitch brochure type thing.
And it looks amazing.
Yeah, it takes a while to load. It's not the best optimized website, but I'm really happy with how it looks. Like, it's got moving parts. It looks really pretty. Soundcuts.net. It's really good. Yeah, I mean, the Soundcuts team, the Soundcuts, not to big them up too much, but like Soundcuts, their work they do, and it's not just the stuff that me and Greg are doing, but like the other people in the company, the stuff they do is incredible. Like the quality bar is so high for a small company. Like the stuff they make is unbelievably good. And honestly, doing Airwiggles and Gamer Learning and meeting people through Airwiggles and getting these connections and picking up these random skills I've kind of learned from seeing people post stuff online or from chatting to people I've met on the internet, I've become so much of a better sound designer. And like, again, I've become an audio lead since making Airwiggles, and I'm not saying it's anything to do with, like, it wasn't like because of that, but like it's definitely helped. Like I feel like I'm way more confident at my own audio ability now because I constantly speak to people in the community. My ear's always on the ground of what's going on in the industry. It's something I spoke about in my Game SoundCon talk I did this year, which is like kind of how being connected with people really makes you a much better sound designer, or whatever your craft is, like if you're that connected with people. So yes, it's not just like, I do Soundcuts work so I can make Airwiggles better. Like they both work together currently really well together, and I think they both make both of us better at both things. Wow, that's a lot of boths. But yes, anyway, that's what I wanted to say as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you did share so far. It's really incredible for me to listen to you. Yeah. And I advise a lot of people also that want advice, how to get started in the career. Sometimes they book just a free one-on-one with me. We have a 30-minute conversation, or people ask me online in chats, whatever. I mean, I don't have that community built that you already did, which I really admire. And anything you can listen through this podcast episode is value. Is value for someone who wants to learn how to become successful in the audio industry. I mean, you are basically, again, the blueprint for what I suggest people they should do. And Louis, what you just mentioned, how it made you a better sound designer to connect with people, and also what Greg shared about that it's not about the money, it's about the value that you give out and to make it sustainable for others. I mean, these are all the things that you are living it, you know. So many people are talking about it. If you go to YouTube and look at all the career advice people are giving broadly, you know, and having huge audiences, they say exactly this, you know. And you do that, and you do it genuinely, successfully, with a lot of passion. I mean, for me, I now want to really listen to some of your sound design, because I have no relation to that. But in terms of what you manage to do with all the platforms and all the reach out and all the value you provide for others, it's really like, yeah, I cannot find the right words for that. It's more than outstanding. It's, yeah. Thank you very much for sharing this with me and with the audience that we're building here together. Let me know if I can be of any service to your platforms, and yeah, it's just really amazing to have had that conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much for having us. Before we leave, I just want to say as well, like, I think one of the important things to mention as well is that we often don't have a good work-life balance, and I think it's I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing what we do to everyone. I think I feel that we're special, not special. That's a terrible way of saying.
Come on, disclaimer.
We
Greg.
are
I mean,
terribly
everyone...
addicted type of people. Like, we can't
Greg is
help
special.
it. We are like, we obsess over it, and that causes a lot of anxiety and also hardship a lot of the time. And I think I am oftentimes in a battle with burnout and with trying to manage my life and my work and my time. And sometimes it gets intense, then it gets easy again, and it's like always a push and pull. And I know that that's for everyone in every job and everything. But I think it might... Yeah, I don't want people to look at it and be like, oh, wow, I need to do all the same stuff. I think that like, simply... Yeah.
I mean, this is not for everyone.
Yeah.
But, and maybe not everyone has the endurance and all the things that you have. And everyone should find their own path and maybe a own channel of how they can channel their passion and the energy amount they have got. And your example, I think, shows that if you're not willing to put in at least the 100%, yeah, you will get... You might not, you know, there's not a fixed rule. There are exceptions to that, but let's say the general rule is, if you don't put 100% or even more on top of that, you will not reach those high levels. And there are exceptions to that. You cannot have a fixed contract. If I do this, then I will be successful. No, but the general rule says, if you do it, then you have a good chance, a way better chance than when you just work 50% in your passion and you be lazy the other 50%. It will not have the same outcome most of the time. So therefore, don't worry about that. I mean, people are grown up, and it's so hard to get to the level where you are in terms of efficiency and productivity and pushing yourself. You know, most of the people have the opposite problem. They cannot push themselves to be productive. You have to push yourself to be chilling out. Yeah, and so this is noticeable. So people will already know this. So don't worry, and keep going. Stay healthy, of course.
Yes.
And it just resonates with me so much, because I'm maybe in the middle. You know, I'm not as addicted to this whole thing. But I know that if you really are passionate and really push through and get to the things you want to achieve, and learning that you have to put the amount of work into those things in order to achieve it. You know, I couldn't be a Foley artist on that level, not without the talent, not without the story I had before becoming a Foley artist, but never without all the years of being, again, full-time employed with someone who feeds me work day in, day out, and I just do it. for a couple of years straight. And that's where then the thing happens and the click, and then you become someone who can actually do the work and be efficient and earn money with this. And so yeah, thank you again for doing this. Great honor. And yeah, I'm looking forward to everything that's coming from your end.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your kind words as well. It was really lovely to hear, even though I think you went too far with some of them. I really appreciate you saying all that stuff.
Okay.
So thank you so much
enough.
for having us as well. This is really fun conversation.
All right. Same here. Thank you very much for staying up until the end. It was really a great conversation with Greg and Lewis. And I personally learned so much about it, especially about, sharing value and contributing to something without thinking about the money too much, and that the money comes then anyhow if you have something with momentum, but using that money then not for your own benefit, but for accelerating the whole thing for everyone. That is the key thing that I take from this conversation. And I really want to thank Greg and Lewis again for sharing everything, taking the time, and I hope you could learn also something. Please make sure to subscribe and watch more of this. There's much more to look at if you want. I would also want to know what your biggest takeaway was from that podcast episode. So put it down in the channels or write me a DM, and I'm happy to see you in the next video. Peace. The Foley Teacher.